In 1820, Tennessee abolitionist Elihu Embree launched the Emancipator, the first U.S. newspaper dedicated to the abolition of slavery. So it may come as a surprise that Embree also legally owned enslaved people. I had to know more, so I traveled to Jonesboro, Tennessee, to get an understanding of just how he reconciled with his belief in the freedom and civil liberties of all, while simultaneously enslaving about 10 men, women, and children. I met with historian Ann Gefellers Mason to find out.
When his first wife died, when he remarried, his second wife was not of the Quaker faith, and her first husband had been an enslaver. And when her first husband died, she inherited his enslaved people. She marries Embree, brings the enslaved people with her. It's 1820, so her property is now his property, and Elihu Embree becomes an enslaver.
One of these enslaved persons was named Nancy, and very little is known about her, but that she had about 5 children. It's speculated that Embree also purchased other families, and that Nancy was one of 10 to 12 people.
The past few years, I've really dug into, well, who is Nancy? Who was she? And what happened to her? Because I wholeheartedly believe that there would not have been an emancipator without Nancy.
Embree was conflicted about owning human beings. In one edition of his paper, he says, "To my shame be it said, I have owned slaves. I always believed slavery to be wrong, but deism had a tendency to make me not very scrupulous in adhering to what I believed to be right, as respected much of my moral conduct."
Somewhere in between 1817 and 1819, he has this reawakening in his Quaker faith. And he does manumit most of his enslaved people.
To manumit is to release an enslaved person from slavery. And in the American South, it was rare. It may have been an even bigger challenge for Embree to free all the people he enslaved, because records indicate he used some of them as collateral on a loan, which means he didn't own them outright. He was never able to repay the loan, so it's believed Embree legally owned Nancy up until his death. Embree wasn't the only anti-slavery advocate whose actions contradicted their words. Several members of the Founding Fathers enslaved people while openly condemning slavery. As we celebrate the legacy of people like Elihu Embree, who had the conviction to take a stand against the atrocity of slavery, we must also acknowledge the complexity of their legacy and the lost stories of people like Nancy.